Right, hello, hello. Sorry, it forces me to start. I have to edit on the stream. Hello, Grunt, Soda. You're getting started. It has been brought to my attention that the stream, generally speaking, is a bit quiet. So we're going to kind of test some things started. I also still have to kind of mess with the camera. Apology. Browser. Chat come up. Chat's over there. Yeah, that's. I still have to mess with this. I haven't gotten this set up yet. It's kind of hard to have to do it while you're getting going. Anyway, while we get set up, welcome everybody. I'll get a better angle of this here in a second, but this came Monday. While I'm kind of getting set up, I'll describe what it is. I've turned the lights brightness down because on the webcam at max brightness you can't see squat, so I've got it on kind of minimal so it shows up on camera. This is an isomorphic MPE MIDI controller. If I remember correctly, I believe that stands for, I think it's multi-polyphonic expression. It is multiple, what? No. Audio. MIDI polyphonic expression. Oh, I was so close. Anyway, why I care about MPE is when I was playing with the Hydra synth over here, this has aftertouch. So aftertouch is a control method for which you press the key. You can press the key, and when you push deeper in the Z direction, you get an extra control parameter. Cool about this thing is you have X and Y, so I can wiggle in the X direction, I can wiggle in the Y direction, and I've got that Z direction, all of which have kind of control parameters. And I'll kind of go through this device in a little bit in more detail. I think it's a fascinating piece of equipment. I think there's some things that I would like to see. The nice thing is they are actively working on software improvements for the device. So features may come along as we go. Anyway, first things first, I've got to sort some stuff out. Yeah, I'm not seeing the chat on stream either, so I'm working on that. Part of why. I have the wrong. Right there. Okay, what did I do wrong? Oh, it's in the wrong space. Hold up. By the way, does anyone know how to, in OBS, shrink some, like, the view pane? Like, I can't see the view anymore. Not Z. Okay. Yeah, sorry for the technical difficulties. I reorganized some things, so I'm not surprised some stuff broke. There's that. I like the sideways. Hydrosynth's got to move, excuse me. This is the curse of having a tripod and not like a... This is what happens when you guys bug me about starting on time every day. But at 5. I am... Everyone's leaving. I don't know about that. We've got 7 people here. Aha. Okay. So... Nope, that angle sucks too. Vertical... monitors. I'm having a time. There we go. All right, that's going to be called good enough. Yeah, it's the bipod that's here. I know. Guys, I only have so much access to equipment. All right. So yeah, while we're getting started here, please let me know if the audio is not satisfactory, because I'm going to try to kind of mess with the gain to boost it so we can see what's going on, or so you guys can hear. And yeah, well, it's hard because I want to have an overhead view, but my monitor's right in front of me, so it's kind of a pain to do. Anyway. Okay. So, circling back, pull open phase plane and talk through it. So, the Exquis is an instrument that has an isomorphic layout. So your keys are arranged by default as horizontal semitone steps. Okay, so we'll just use a sine wave. You have your semitone steps here. With some repeating notes. The interesting part about this arrangement that they've discovered is that your harmonic information is pretty easily laid out in shapes. So if you want to play a major chord, you basically go up a triad with first, third, fifth, and if you drop that third in the other direction, you get the minor. So that's pretty neat. Now, why are some of these lit up and other ones not? Well, the cool part is you can actually set both your root tonic. So here it might be not coming up on camera, but you have the different scale root notes. So your tonic. And then you also have your scales, which are built into the device, and they have an editor which you can edit them. And so in this set, the manual printed out. In the default set that ships with the device, you have a major, natural minor, melodic minor, harmonic minor, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Locrian, Phrygian dominant, pentatonic major, pentatonic minor, whole tone, and chromatic. Sounds like a bunch of words. Mostly because it is. They're all just kind of the scale relationships, how you're playing the steps between notes, starting from a tonic note. And it's cool because those relationships hold true pretty much all the time. So regardless of your tonic, the whole step, half step, and everything else will hold true. Now, what is lit up right now is I tend to play in minor scales. So to step up this scale, is that. But then you get to have your harmonic, that remember, those shapes are important. You have your harmonic relations. I couldn't tell you what I was just playing, but it falls within a major chord within that scale. You also have that pitch bending I was talking about. So that's all pretty well and good. I will also point out that this device added a really nice feature. Do you have an arpeggiator too? So you can... And it'll actually play out the way you want it. And it actually can lock the device and play them. I think it's pretty cool. So I think that's a pretty nice to have, right? You get a lot of flexibility messing with things within scale. The other feature, and I'm going to pull up a preset that I configured for in Phase Plant, mostly because I was just there. But to really utilize the best from this device is to have all of the... remember, I've got that side to side programmed. I also have that up and down, and I have the Z. So Z gives me a little vibrato kick. So if I push in a little bit harder, then in the Y up, I've got unison. So I'm tilting my finger upward. And then in the downward, I threw a filter on it just to have a filter. That's wild that I have 3 degrees of control on the device. The pads are mushy. I would say that it works in its benefit because while they're mushy, they are responsive. So the sensors underneath are picking up everything that I want it to. It's pretty nice. And we're gonna mess with this a lot tonight because I've only scratched the surface earlier in the week. But I will point out a couple things that I've noticed right away. The vertical layout is really useful because it shows off, you know, you have the access to all the notes. So you're not restricted to locking everything into a scale. I can dip out of scales as I need to, which I think is actually useful. But this position is super awkward. I'm a piano player at heart, a poor piano player, but a piano player nonetheless. And I am used to a horizontal playing structure. And the chords, particularly the ones that we care about, the triads, that position sucks. My elbows get flared out, and it's really uncomfortable. I think what you have to do to play this well is to adopt something like a claw grip. And it's a little fiddly. because I want to be able to do individual note adjustments. So like if I want to do, we'll do all three. Send that one into the unison, bend this one up a semitone, and then filter that one down. You can do it, but it's a really awkward position. I know that they're working on improvements to the device with software updates, more color options so that I get a bit better visual feedback. They're probably going to work on some more horizontal layouts that might alleviate some of that strain. Personally, I think something of a V pattern might be really useful, but that's neither here nor there. Really interesting device that I want to wrap my head around. When this shipped, the default settings that I got were almost unplayable. It was so sensitive in the X and Y direction that I couldn't play it. I couldn't play a chord without the pitch bend going absolutely bananas. So I had to be really careful until I figured out I could download and install their app on my Windows distro so I could configure the attenuation curves for the X, Y, and Z sensitivity. I will put another positive note. They are working on a Linux app. So you have a actual Linux binary to access, or maybe they push it to a browser app or something. Doesn't matter. The Intuitive Instruments team is working on a Linux app. The only other negatives I know so far, besides that kind of uncomfortable chord playing that I have to get used to, again, I would probably attribute that more to a user error, but maybe there's a compromise to be discovered somewhere. The other negatives, I think that the plastic body is a little bit on the thin side. The texture picks up smudges pretty quick, and it just feels a little on the light side for everything that is not the control surfaces. I think the knobs are a little wobbly and kind of plasticky feeling. I'm not sure if I can take them off the pots or not. I gave them a little tug, and they seem pretty much on there, so I didn't want to accidentally break them. Let's see what else. The pads so the pads feel good. They pick up a shit ton of dust. I'm gonna have to order the dust cover for this by necessity. This will never stay clean. It is picking up dust and hairs from the room, and because the pads are just because of the nature of the silicone they picked, it's almost a sticky tactile texture, which is great for playing. It's picking up dust and hair from the room, and I noticed that within days. So have to get it with the dust cover, which I think is like $40, unfortunately, because this thing will just get gross very quick. So that's a summary of the device. Today's objective is to just see what kind of things I can do with it. Do I like it enough to keep it? I think the short answer is yes. While there are flaws, I think the way that you play something like this is really fun and intuitive. And I think with just a handful of improvements, this could be like an A-tier device. Maybe one day they splurge for a special edition aluminum body. I think that would be super nice, because like the Hydrasynth feels like a Hardy premium product. The device, the Hydrasynth feels like a premium product because it's got a nice metal body. The pots are solid and built into the frame. It's rugged, robust. This feels a little bit more sensitive. But all of the rest of it, the pads are excellent, and I think that the and I saw a video teardown of the device. I think the circuit board looks good. Oh, is my stream buggy? Uh-oh. What's the issue? Are we having compression artifacts? Is our bitrate bad? Hang on. Maximum rate at 51,000 kilobytes per second. Maximum audio bitrate 160 kilobytes. Oh, stream's good. Okay, so maybe some people are just having some. That's okay. Happens from time to time. It'll come out in the wash. Sorry, Tube. It's just you today. Now, as part of this discovery process, I will say, if you guys have any suggestions of something you want me to try with this thing, things that you would be interested in seeing, I think that'd be helpful for me, because then I can explore things with the device I otherwise wouldn't be messing. So, without further ado, what do I want to do first? I guess first is a jam session. So I'll go pop open 2085 because I know that there's a strong lead in there that I can play with and kind of have fun with just to see what it's like playing with the device in a locked key for like kind of solo play. So yeah, and I think today is going to just be looking at my hands for the most part because we're highlighting this thing. A good rye. What else we got in here today? We got Tube, Clayton, Prince Apophis, Soda Spritz, welcome, welcome. Runt's here. Got Simon, Tube. Yeah, all right. Hell yeah. And if I remember, what key was this song? Let me write this G. Check. Yeah, it's G. All right. Oh. See. Ooh, I have a lot of delay. Oh, right. We have a lot of instruments that take up the spectral stuff. 1 second. We're going to have to disable a few things. Yeah. 300 milliseconds of delay. Oof. Okay, it's mostly in here. That's probably the Pro Q4s. We will turn those off for now. Disable. Disable. Probably this one. Disable. Now we're down to 100 seconds. The mix will be terrible. It's okay. Make sure that's not bleeding in too much. Which of these is giving us Pro MB? Q plus? It shouldn't be EQ plus. EDR Prism. See that? Shouldn't be the filter. We're probably summing something up from D. Pro Q4. Yeah, so Spectral is pretty brutal on the CPU. Okay, that's down to 7. We're turning off all the Pro Q4s. Yes, that'll be bad for the mixing, but we're not releasing this. We're just jamming with it. There we go. That one had... that's you. All right, let's try and first do light jam, then play with some features. Okay, that will go here. Loop the section where it's normally playing. Have fun with it. All right, let's see if we can add some more control to this. So do pressure for that. Okay. Let's do timbre will be up and down. All right. So yeah, for playing with leads, it's pretty easy, right? Like, so that all works out pretty well. Let's kill the chords. Probably just try to do some harmony stuff. Do 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 do. And then we'll just pick something base. I don't think I have a lot of like pads or texture stuff today. I probably says more about me than anything else. Noted. I need to be making more of the. That's fine. We'll go with Plux. Try keys actually. A little bit more fuzz. This is the Exquis. It's made by a French company called Intuitive Instruments. Yeah, and again, the big reason for this, I'm gonna switch the camera. The big reason for the device is when I played with the aftertouch pads on the Hydrasynth, I found out that I really liked not having to reach for a knob to control a parameter. Being able to just kind of push the key, even just a little bit differently, gives me some expression that I otherwise don't get to have. So it's nice to, it's just a different way to play. There are compromises here. Again, the form factor has, because of its form factor, there's some things I'm just not used to. And I will actually have to practice to play this more like a, well, more improviser with better improv skills. But that being said, not a big deal. That's more of a me thing, but you know. It's really nice to kind of mindlessly pick chords that are fitting within a scale and sliding out of it with just a little bit of like, oh, you know what? 2 of these notes are in scale, but 1 isn't. So anyway, let's see. Back to want something. That works. We'll just crank them up with cheap compression. Compressor. Oh, whoops. These is destructive. I can move all of these. I'm gonna add effects. Do they have groups here yet? They do. Okay. Plop these all into a group. Because plot those over there. Pitch shifter or probably filter. We'll go with filter. Right, they don't have they do format. Yeah, it kind of bleeds though. You can't tell it's resonator. All right, perfect. That's a good one. Nice and resonant. So, do that with pressure. Mix that in full percent. So, That's pretty sweet. Okay, so drones and pads, that is crazy cool control. So what I did, it's hard to see because I know that that screen's tiny. So we've got the pressure is changing a ring mod so that it just adds some like a little bit of pinchiness to it, and then I'm just kind of sliding in and out of notes since there's so much reverb. It's got an atonal quality to it. So let me... actually, I could probably show desktop. Yeah, you can see that mix parameter right there. That just makes it so much more fun to play. Again, something that's hard, it's hard to describe just how much this opens things up for me. So for a very long time, am I on Debian? No, I'm on Arch. So Arch with what's it called? Not Grub. GNOME. So GNOME is the desktop, Wayland is the window manager, and Arch for the backend. And this is Bitwig Studio. So yeah, with this keyboard, being able to, without taking my fingers off the keys, control more parameters is awesome. I have tried to play in one hand and do stuff with a knob in the other, and it's always, there's a detachment for me that's always made that hard. So I tend to just program all of my automation at the end. Like I will, all my dubsteppy wubby stuff, I'm doing the filter sweeps there. If I can start playing with something like this and actually per key be able to kind of mess with something, that's kind of nice. It is running natively in the system, by the way. Bitwig, they do a Debian binary. It's just some people have unpacked it in the way that is on Arch, so I'm able to. I believe that their official support is for Ubuntu with Flatpak, but everyone who has figured out how to dump it out, I think, pretty useful. I like the DAW, by the way. I've probably talked about it a bunch on stream. Speaking of usability for the synth, so now what I'd like to do is try and do something. Well, let's see. We're gonna open up something new so I don't mess up 2085 because that would be criminal to fuck up my. I'm gonna grab some drums. I'm gonna grab some not drum and bass drums so it's X. Sound content. Sample. Find list at bottom. A 100 BPM. Yeah, it's a bit of a compromise. I don't want to wear headphones all the time, so if the gating is kind of weird with the mic, I apologize. Sometimes it's just I can't have the mic not pick up the giant speakers in front of me without severe gating. So if it sounds weird, that is one thing I cannot help. Let me throw it up. All right, I'm going to put it on the screen because I'm only going to be playing one note on this at a time anyway. So let's go back to DOM. Oops. Wasn't this drum sample used in the Matrix? Very possibly one of the tracks was definitely, or one of these samples was in there. I think Rob Dugan was one of the collaborators and he used breaks all the time. Maybe he sampled them himself. Okay. Yeah, we're on. Oh, do I not have my original preset in here? Huh, I used to have a respace though. Oh, no, I do. Alchemy Neuro Tutorial. Perfect. I think it's called Expression. No, I clicked the wrong thing. Pressure. That on the Alright, that one's kind of hard. Can't really hear it. Yeah, not getting into any of that. Amber for home. Maybe switch the controls. Maybe this will be better for pressure. And then maybe this is better for amber. Go negative. Oh, that's not routed to anything. Well, no wonder. it's kind of hard. I'll tell you, paired with at least one control. So if I have pitch bend on there, and then maybe I use one of these knobs, which I believe, yes, I believe I can MIDI control something. Let's try it. Oh, I need to get rid of that pressure. Yeah. Can I? Does that pick it up? It does not. Oh, yeah, it does. Ooh, that's really choppy, though. Oh, that's stepping. That's why I don't like MIDI control. That stepping is terrible. Meanwhile, so that remote sucks, but that's got a lot of tactile feel to it. Okay, so that's an interesting observation, which should be that interesting. The stepping from the rotary encoder, I think, is just standard MIDI CC, and there's only so many steps that it's reading, but the pressure sensitivity from the MPE, wildly cleaner. So that's kind of nice. About... Let's get a different preset. I grab one of the bass plant ones, frankly, because there's more controls I can quickly grab and start with. Let's... That's a good one. Pressure. Crank that when... Oh, I'm dumb. I clicked the wrong thing. That's why I'm like, nothing happened. Oops. Loop length is up. That's kind of interesting. So you can almost choose, instead of the loop length, why don't I change the starting? And so position just goes AWOL as I press harder. That's kind of cool. All right, just play with the drum. Okay, that gives me an idea. So if that's a sample, right? That lets me just with pressure play with samples. What would be? Actually, fuck it. Let's try with a drum. So quiet. Oh, am I velocity sensitive? Oh, they don't let me choose the starting point. Oh no, that's funny. I thought that would... Okay, I can definitely mess with the speed though. So... Okay, I can offset the loop. Okay, that's just a default starting point. I don't actually... That's the looping. Offset the light pad. Okay, maybe can't do it with pressure, but I could change it. No, that won't work. Okay. So this sampler, I might not be able to mess with it. I can change the length. Okay. Maybe not that kind of sample in there. Can you freeze? Kind of interesting. I'm almost scratching with this, and that's really funny. It's easier to control with timbre rather than pressure. Probably not, but whatever. Actually, you could just do a velocity control on that. So velocity, the harder I play, the farther along it goes. Then you need to have like just all one shot. Delete. Oh, okay. I can't even freeze it there. All right, interesting. Yeah, apologies. This is like the weird stuff that we're discovering, because like, what does pressure controls give me? What does that unlock for performance that I don't already just have? What makes it easier? Well, drum fiddliness is kind of neat. Pressure. All right. Me playing with my coat zipper. I mean, you're not wrong. Let's see. Oh, where's that old movie sample pack? That kind of will sound cool. Vintage movie.
If he answers, there'll be no.
Okay, so I can push the playhead for it. Interesting. Okay, you got some like sampler controls you don't normally have. Again, I think the thing that I'm noticing is that MIDI encoders versus the pressure sensitivity and the other controls, way more fidelity in these signals than in this, and I couldn't tell you why. Because the remote control just was like just snappy, and they're using this. I think they're using same MIDI protocol, because MPE that travels across like multiple dimensions of a signal. I don't know. This is hard to. I'm trying to figure it out. That is a fun sound. Okay. Where is the one that we? Are you afraid of?
One more refusal, and I'll turn off the shortwave transfer.
We can't go on. How can you be so? Why didn't you? You're weak.
I don't remember the movie because I cannot remember. Was it dark? Like, did we? Oh,
Because I'm afraid of the dark.
Okay, we're gonna start with a fresh sample. Let's see, sampler. Put that in there.
Because I'm afraid of the dark.
Because I'm afraid of the dark. Because I'm afraid of the dark. Because I'm afraid of the dark. Because I'm afraid of the dark. Because I'm afraid of the dark.
All right, so pressure, bring it down.
Because I'm afraid of the dark. Because I'm afraid of the dark. Because I'm
Then we'll change the loop point based on.
Because I'm afraid of the dark. Because I'm.
Yes. Amber.
Because I'm afraid of the dark. Because I'm afraid of the dark. Because I'm afraid of the dark. Afraid of the dark. The dark. I'm afraid because I'm afraid of the dark. I'm afraid.
Now just let's spice it up. Some play.
Because I'm afraid of the dark. 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 Because I'm afraid of the
So is it a lot of utility? There, not really. It's a little fiddly. I would prefer just better knob controls, but again, something to do with the protocols are just not working as intended.
Because I'm afraid of the dark. Afraid of the dark. Of the dark. Afraid of the dark. Because I'm afraid. Because I'm afraid of the dark. I'm afraid.
Do I have pit?
Because I'm afraid of the dark. Because I'm afraid of the because I'm afraid of the because I'm afraid of because I'm because I'm afraid because I'm afraid because I'm afraid because I'm because I'm because I'm afraid of the dark because I'm afraid of the because I'm afraid of because I'm
Okay, that's not working. Should be moving it.
Because I'm afraid of the dark. Because I'm afraid of the dark. Because I'm
All right, so that's neat little thing, kind of weird, glitchy. Pressure on and off. Amber's nice to do. You can technically do it with pitch bend, but I'll have to look at that a little more. Because I can disable the amount of pitch bend on the device and then just only worry about that signal elsewhere, at least. All right, let's see about. Honestly, we'll probably stick with faceplant just because I can cast here. New wavetable. Pressure is going to be the play on it. Though. Glossy, probably spectral. And this should be poly global unison. Oh. Okay, they are independent oscillators. I was just making sure. Okay, so it does come back to root. I had a little LFO just to give it a little bit of a leaving, like where it leaves off change. Then we don't know what to play with. Let's do one of the other chord structures. Probably Lydian. Cheat sheet. Excellent. I think it was Phrygian dominant. Green. Oh yeah, let's do that. All right, slam a bunch of reverb on that. Let's slam a bunch of reverb. Why not have a... Oh, no. All right, that's pretty cool. So yeah, pads and drones, this thing rules. That's very easy to control. You don't have a lot of issue with the tactile feeling of the pads. Work well for the controls that you play. And it's an unknown reason, but for whatever reason, encoders are not responding with a tight tactile feel within Bitwig compared to the pressure control. Whatever signal processing is happening, that is being prioritized, and that feels really good. Hi, son. That's nice of you to. Hi, thank you. Good. Good. right in my face. Need blinds. Anyway, so pads, drones, really good. Leads, pretty good. I think it's a skill issue on my part. I could probably play this thing a little bit better. Nope. I'm just gonna be bright Devin for today. It's just gonna be how we close stream out, just like blinded. So yeah, leads are good. I think that's a player issue. I just have to get used to playing this kind of vertical, horizontal shift in the mindset because you're kind of working your way up the keys for a scale. Chords, same thing. Kind of got to get used to how they play, but for like quick hacking at the controller without actually knowing the scale, knowing the keys intuitively, this is helpful for like, hey, I'm within a scale. I can see it right here. They're not prioritizing, but they're working on some Linux updates for their software package, so I don't have to boot up Windows every time. Nice. And they're adding some lights and stuff to this thing, or customizability for the lights. So I would say pretty cool device for $300. I think that it should come. So they have a premium one that comes with like side railings you can pop on. I kind of wish they came with that, but they are kind of like handmade wood pieces. So I'm not that butthurt. And they put the plans out, so if you want to do it yourself, you can. It kind of sucks, but this should not come without the cover. This thing is going to get dirty really fast, so I'm going to have to order a $40 cover before these tariffs kick my ass on shipping. So hopefully they still have one at the retailer I like, because yeah, this thing's going to get dirty. Like when the Hydrosynth gets kind of crummy, the pads on here are very slick, so like get a duster right across it, it's clean. These are a bit grippier, and I can see like my fucking leg hairs are on it already, and it's like, yeah, I'm gonna be struggling keeping this thing clean. But this is cool. Yeah, the Scarlet, so the Focusrite's a good piece of kit. Somebody came up with a utility, and they uploaded it, so that you have control over the interface through Linux. And finally, Focusrite actually contacted that person and gave them like, hey, here's some firmware information so you can make your program work better. This is about to be replaced. I did order the Bitwig Connect because I wanted more direct integration with my DAW, and it's got patch cable stuff that I want to be doing, particularly with the Hydrosynth and future when the world bestows upon me money that I can throw away at stuff. But for essentials, I'm probably not going to be touching a piano for a minute. I thought I was going to buy this and either return it or buy this and then soon thereafter buy a small little like 25 or 37 key, but I think I'm going to work with this for a bit. This is an interesting way to play, especially now that it's dialed in. A lot of utility, and I think with some practice, this could be my little jam machine. I think it's pretty cool. Yeah. Neat stuff. And the aftertouch already is just adding that dimensionality to play is so. I would have never known that I liked it. The closest that I've ever had to a device that gave me something kind of fun for a control was the Roland SH201. It was a little hardware synth, and it had a light beam controller that you could assign to a couple parameters. Not many. I think it was like lock filter, but you play something in one hand and then wave your hand over top of it to control it. And that felt more like a novelty. This feels less like a novelty. I'll bet you my absolute favorite version of this will probably be something like the Osmos, but I don't have $1,200 to spend, and frankly, that's a lot of money for a synth I might or might not use really effectively because it has a crazy weird engine in it. But the key bed is like a keyboard piano that you can play with tone arms on it, so you can push it deep and you can wiggle it side to side. I'm not sure if it's got slide, so the y-axis, but still, this for $300 is pretty cool. 2 thumbs up. You have to be looking for this. This isn't going to be for everybody because you're probably already good with a piano. You don't have much use for this. If you got a piano, you're using Aftertouch with a nicer keypad, and that's probably good enough. A lot of synths come with their own kind of hardware, so I don't know. This is interesting. I think it's really useful to me. Really small footprint, and it's pretty cool. Yeah. Well, thanks everybody for hanging out. I think we'll call it there. It's about 7 me, so I'm gonna take it easy. I'm probably gonna play with this more once the sun's out of my eyes. Feel like a vampire. I got infected in my my Oblivion playthrough, and I'm smoked. This was cool. Other news. 2085 is going to have a launch date probably at the very end of the month or beginning of next month. So hopefully I'll lock that in soon. I'm trying to solicit a new distributor. If they don't get back to me, I'm just going to pick one. Anyway, see you guys on the flip side.